not as strenuous as perhaps the public might think it ought to be. I think the difficulty with that is that, you know, if you're a government-known terrorist or organisation, or you know, some despot that's running a human rights violation type country, those people are on lists of restrictions through the government. So those types of people wouldn't be allowed to buy a club. People who have been disqualified as a director, people who are bankrupt, wouldn't be able to. But most of the people that would come forward who are normal people, you wouldn't know that they were fitting, whether they're fitting proper or not, until well after the event, because, you know, you can only go off information on the public record. And, you know, if the EFL made a statement that, you know, if it was me and I came in to buy a club and they said you're not fit and proper because we don't like you, they'd find themselves on the end of a lawsuit, because I'd say, well, I've not been disqualified by the UK government from acting as a director, so who are you to disqualify me? It's a lot more difficult than people think to police it. So that side of it, I think if it's somebody that's known within football, it will be much quicker. So if you know, you mentioned Ian Lanigan before, who's got the Wigan Warriors. Ian's been involved in football. He was at Oxford United. He's been chairman of the EFL, I think. So he's somebody who's known to the football community. There isn't going to be anybody kicking off about him getting involved, because everybody knows him, everybody likes him. Somebody coming from overseas, depending on the jurisdiction they're coming from, where, you know, there are some places within Europe that there wouldn't be an issue. There are places around the world where there may be perceived to be issues. I know Newcastle have got owners from Saudi Arabia, and that seems to have taken forever to go through. I still don't think it's gone through. So, you know, when you're asking about the question of do we have a choice on who we sell, it isn't just about the money. It's not just about the money, because if somebody can't get through the fit and proper person test for 6 months, then that to me isn't an offer. That I can't really look at that. It's got to be somebody that's fairly quickly acceptable. And hopefully, you know, our timescale is, I don't want to be starting this, you know, much as the results seem to have gone the right way since we've been involved, I don't want to be running the football club, making the decisions come September. That needs to be with the new owner, and we need to be out, and then we can concentrate on dealing with the remnants of the old shell and get the investigation and stuff in there going to see what really went on. And the club will just go forward then in a brand new vehicle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And there's loads of people now coming through on the chat saying thank you very much for being so open and honest about you know, the information you've been giving to us. I'm going to finish off with Caroline. Obviously, the sports club has done amazing with the fundraising so far. That fundraiser is now set at 250,000. Can you let us know how much do we really need to get to that 250,000? And if so, what is that the future money going to be going towards?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've mentioned that, as Paul said, if this goes on for a matter of weeks, then we're going to be able to support the basic running of the football club. So all those basic essential costs. And what we're hoping to do is exactly what we've done this week, is meet with the administrators every week and just sort of catch up with them on what they need to keep the football club running in the background, whilst the administrators and Jonathan work to secure the future of the club. The more we can, it's easy to say how much can we raise, how much do we need. Ultimately, we need to raise as much as we can, and then once this process is all through, we can then speak to the new owner to hopefully use that money to buy a voice for the fans going forward forever in the future of Wigan Athletic. I did just want to mention it and also bring Lisa in on this, that we've got something else running alongside the appeal, and that is that we have put in a parliamentary petition to get this debated in Parliament. Now, it's not as straightforward as we thought. We have put in a petition that basically asks the government to review the need for a statutory owners and directors test, so not run by the EFL, an independent regulatory body that would look at sales of football clubs in terms of the finances. Now, the stage that we're up to is we've got 5 signatures, which is mandatory. I think they're now looking for defamatory information maybe in the title of the petition before that goes live. The next step, I believe, Lisa, is that we've then got to get to 21 signatures, and then we're hoping it will explode, and we need 100,000. So people like Murray, you know, we need to spread the word across the entire of the football world that we want to raise the profile of this and get it debated in Parliament. Lisa, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Just to say, I mean, this all came from the supporters club, and it's a brilliant idea because, like I said at the beginning, there's so much interest in this, and we've used this vehicle about a statutory test because the only way that you can get something like this accepted by Parliament is to call on the government to do something. It has to be within the government's power to do it. So we've framed it like that so that it definitely gets accepted onto the parliamentary website. If we get over 100,000 signatures, Parliament will finish at the end of next week for the summer, but we'll come back on the 1st of September. So if we get over 100,000 signatures by then I will push very hard for this to be one of the first things that gets debated when Parliament comes back. So, you know, if what Paul is doing comes off and that all goes according to plan, then come September, we could be in a really good place where we've secured the future of Wigan Athletic, and we're now taking that campaign out into the country to make sure that we're secure in this way for good, and that other clubs don't suffer the same as we have over the last few weeks. And since I've commandeered the microphone for a moment, I did just want to say as well that, as well as it's been such a privilege over the last few weeks to work with all of the people that you see on this call. I mean, the supporters club have been amazing. The fans have brought me to tears a few times with the people who've, you know, walked into the football club to hand in money out their own pocket. Jonathan was telling me there was an older gentleman today who came in with £60 out of his own pocket, and people have been donating whatever they can afford. But I did just want to say as well about the staff that a lot of those staff, like Jonathan, have been made redundant. And I went down to the press conference the other day, and you know, I've known a lot of them for years, and they're the most dedicated people that you'd ever meet. And they were made redundant, or their friends were made redundant a couple of days earlier, and they were still down there working around the clock to save this club. It just is everything about Wigan Athletic. It's a family, and it matters so much to everybody. And so although this has been a really tough time, and it's still, if you're anything like me, you won't have slept very much over the last few weeks. Just feels like this is such a precarious position, and we've got to get through the next few weeks, and we've got to get this right. But it just gives me so much heart and so much hope, because there are people who are just determined that we're not going to fail in this endeavour. And then, like Caroline said, we're going to take this forward, and we're going to change this situation for good, and some good is going to come out of what has been a really difficult time.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Caroline, Lisa, Murray, Paul, Jonathan, you've been absolutely fantastic. I hope the fans are in a much better place now and actually understand a bit more about the process and what's going on. But thank you so much for your time. Everybody else, if you want to stay on, we're going to be having a bit of a former players get together in about 5-10 minutes. So if you want to stay on board, you want got a bit more life left in you, we'll start asking the players what their views are, and well, we'll see you in a couple of minutes. But for now, thank you everybody for coming on board, and thanks for being so honest and upfront.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now. Hi, Tommy, Neil.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, mate. You right?
Yeah, good, good. So, just to warn you, we are live on air now, so
Okay, thanks.
Don't be swearing.
no swearing. I know what you're like once you get to this time of night. Now, how did you think that went, guys?
Yeah, it was good, enlightening, really. As you say, they all seem to be working towards the same goal, you know, with the administrators and Lisa and Andy and everybody. I mean, the supporters club obviously has been great, but it's just finding the right owner. It's not a owner, because I don't think there'll be, by the sound of it, a shortage of people wanting to buy the club, but you've got to make sure it's the right owner, haven't we?
Yeah, I agree totally. Jonathan, there was a question at the end there, but I thought it'd be more apt for in here than on the other part of the meeting. How do you switch off? How do you take your directors? Sorry, how do you take the Wigan Athletic emotion out of you to do your role as CEO? Sorry, can you not speak?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You can't really. You can't. It's just like everybody else that was on that call. I'm a supporter. I'm passionate about the football club. It's very, very important to me. I'm just very, very privileged to be part of it and involved in running it. And it's very, very difficult to separate the two, really, because it becomes a passion. It almost takes over your life. But you've got to try and also not make emotional decisions as well. So it's and this has been a very, very difficult 2 weeks, as I said. But like all fans, I'm just hoping that I'm positive now that these 2 weeks for a club that's been established since 1932, that's 88 years. You know, that we'll get through this as we've got through difficult times before, and come through the other side, and hopefully stronger and more resilient to things like this happening ever again.
I think the biggest part in all this, the players are doing their bit on the pitch, which is giving everybody obviously through this difficult situation, giving people something to cheer about as well. And it shows what direction the club's going in, even in administration. The players are doing their bit, the supporters are doing their bit, and just hope an owner will come in and stabilise the club. You work
a bit in the academy. I mean, we alluded to before, that is the future of Wigan Athletic, isn't it? To prosper and move forward, that academy's got to be run right, and it's got to bring those kids through, hasn't it?
Yeah, obviously Jensen Weir's, I think, more or less gone now. I think he would have been a magnificent player for the first team. They've got other players in there as well, which ideally would be the future of the club. I suppose what also is a benefit of the club is, the transfer window is closed, so the players can focus on actually playing the games and trying to get themselves out of this trouble regarding relegation, rather than focusing on the next move, which is a positive for the club in that sense. Also I've been in change rooms before where you're looking around change rooms thinking who's going to be sold next. At this minute in time, Wigan haven't got that problem, which probably is helping him on the pitch.
Emerson, I think this has really galvanised the players into a really strong spirit, and there's a really strong bond amongst them. It almost reminds me of 2011-12 when we went on that run where we were bottom of the league and we beat Liverpool and Arsenal and Manchester United, and it almost feels that the momentum that's been gained by the players think they're unbeatable, and they certainly don't look like conceding a goal. And it does remind me of that period where there's so much belief amongst them, and it's almost we'll show the world what we can do.
Yeah, definitely.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it is a case of not just do it for the supporters, but do it for your own self-pride. It's quite easily just to fold away and think, well, we don't know what's going on with the club. Look at my own future, see what I'm going to be playing next. But full credit to the players, and it showed on the other night when they're winning 8-0. Not many teams will go and in administration, not getting paid their full salary, and then putting a performance like that is a great credit to not just the players, also Paul Cook and everybody that's associated to the football club.
There's certainly not been one dissenting voice within the club. That the players and the staff have really come together, and the players have been brilliant throughout this. Let's hope they can just finish the job tomorrow and next Tuesday night. As I stand at Huddersfield, as I'm saying that, Huddersfield have just scored, 2-1 up, so that takes them to 51 points.
Yeah, it'd be a big ask for us to get to 63, wouldn't it?
It's possible.
I think they're capable,
Yeah,
though.
it is.
The performances they've been putting in. You're talking about the team spirit and the spirit around the club. I think the team spirit and the character that they've shown early on in the season when results weren't quite going our way. I always said on the commentaries that performances have been very good, but we just haven't been getting the results. Certainly since the turn of the year, we have been getting the results. But that team spirit that Emerson will know about, and Neil and Noel and everybody else, if you've got that team spirit in the dressing room, it carries you an awful long way when things aren't going right. And just at the moment, all this what's going on, I think, has just harnessed and focused the attention on what this football club means to everybody.
Cameron Quince has asked, could each of you describe what went through your mind, or how you felt once you, I mean, we know about you, Jonathan, but I'm talking about Tommy, Neil, Emerson and Noel. How did you react when you first found out about the administration? Of course, start with Neil, seeing you being quiet.
Okay, thank you. It was one of disbelief, really. I think, I've been involved with the club for a long time, and it's had its ups and downs. So it was disbelief. Just my wife told me, it came over the news, and she just said what had happened. And as I say, it was unbelievable. But like everyone else says here, I'm amazed, and I think it's fantastic the way everyone's come together. I really do. And I've got a special mention for Jonathan. I think, the way he's stayed involved and doing his thing, and a supporter at heart. So I think to have someone like that involved has really helped with everything. The supporters club's been incredible. It's just it just shows what this town and this club's made of. Really, it's fantastic. But going back to your question, it's just disbelief, really, and sadness.
Noel, what was your reaction when you first found out?
I was doing what probably a lot of people were doing. I was out in the garden, which I didn't normally do. And my wife said, Kerry's on the phone, my daughter. So I got the phone and she said, Wigan are an administration. And she told me, well, I'm not allowed to swear, but anyway, I actually looked at the TV on my right-hand side and was on Sky. And, well, the same as Neil, was just totally disbelief. And where's this come from? Like I said, and going back to Jonathan there, we've all, been associated with the club over a number of years, great number of years. And as Tommy said, I think what you've got now is that camaraderie that's going back to when I came and when we get into the Football League first, and you had a bunch of guys who had gone from non-league, semi-professional to full-time, and you play your first 7 games and you've drawn one of them and lost the next 6. And everybody's thinking, oh God, where's this going to end up? We're back in non-league next season. And simply because the togetherness that we had in the club then, we sort of over the next, I think it was next 39 games, we only lost 6. And that was just down to, as Tommy said, camaraderie, people pulling together as they are now. And it is a credit to the players and the management and everybody else concerned. As he said, the supporters club, the whole town, everybody, it is absolutely fantastic the way everybody's pulled together to try and get the club out of the hole that it's in.
Yeah, Nathan, welcome.
Hi,
I don't know how much you caught of the actual meeting we had before, but where were you and what was your reaction when you first found out?
To be honest, when I first found out, I was just like, how's that possible? They've just been taken over recently, by very rich owners. How's that possible? So it was more disbelief as well, and just wondering how it happened. I just wanted to know the finer detail on how it's got to this stage. And obviously knowing from when I first joined the club, Dave Whelan in charge, just bringing the club up and also having a reputation for having everything in order in terms of that side and getting really good players and not paying too much to get them in and to be able to compete to, you know, win leagues and get up to the Premiership. You know, I felt like this club's run really, really well. And, you know, I just thought it's amazing that the story that it's already had. And then obviously leaving and then seeing the club push on to new levels as well. Just thinking the club's just always going to be okay. And then always looking out on TV to see how the club's doing, new players coming in and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden to just get this shock news, it's just like, this can't be right. You know, it can't just all end like this. Like, you know, like I've heard, you've seen the Berries of this world and the Boltons, you know, they're all in massive struggles now. And then for it to be something that is associated with Wigan now, it's just like, you know, it's painful to hear coming that, you know, it's so close to my heart. So, you know, knowing so many of the people, all of the fans as well, knowing what everyone's like, how much they love the club. And, you know, same here. I love the club and it'll always be in my heart. So to see that happening, it's just really, you know, it's not nice to see. And that's why I'm on there now to, you know, to really just show my support and, you know, see hope and obviously work towards helping in any way possible to get the club, you know, sorted.
Nice. Brilliant seeing you again, mate.
Yeah,
Emerson, what was going through your mind? It was mental, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was saying it's like disbelief. Literally couldn't believe it. We was having the community trust meeting, and we was talking about how well the club's been doing in this, obviously the COVID-19 situation, doing so much for the community. And next thing I know, it's gone into administration. So, you know, my first thought was to the staff, because ultimately people are going to lose their jobs. Obviously, I know, like a lot of us know some fantastic people that work in the club. And then Dave Whelan, obviously the legacy that he built, going through all the leagues, and just to understand how the club's got to this situation. And again, it's credit to the players, Jonathan, everyone that's involved in terms of, to an extent, stabilising and giving the fans a understanding how the situation is going forward. But again, you know, I have to reiterate, the players are doing the fans proud, the fans are doing the players proud, and it's a good credit to the community and to the town that everybody's pulling together.
Yeah. Tommy, I'm going to hazard a guess that the day after a football match that you've commentated on, you were probably on the golf course when you found out.
You're quite right, Jason. I was literally teeing off at 20-1, so I put my phone onto silent and put it in my bag about 12:20. Obviously, the announcement was made at 12:30. So 4:30, I finished golf, pick up my phone, and it's absolutely gone ballistic. And believe it or not, the first fella who I got in touch with was Bernard Platt, who's the club photographer. And he just said to me, it's terrible news, isn't it? And I'm thinking, Christ, I'm thinking somebody's died or whatever, you know. And I said, why, what's happened? I didn't know. I've only just picked up my phone. And he said, the club's gone bust. I said, don't be daft. I just couldn't believe it. I was numb. As the guys have said, you know, it's just disbelief. And after the euphoria of beating Stoke 3-0, everybody's more or less saying at that point, you know, we're safe, you know, maybe one more good result and we're out of the relegation problems, and that, you know, to be plunged into the depths of not just the worry of relegation, but the worry of where the club is going to be. And as I say, it was just heartache for the people who, as Emerson has sort of voiced there, you know, the people we know, some lovely people work at Wigan Athletic behind the scenes. And you know, when you know these people personally, you know, I know how much heartache Jonathan's gone through. I mean, we've known Jonathan for probably 40 years, you know, and it's hard to see people suffering at times like this, you know, through no fault of their own. And, you know, it's not something, you can't do anything about it. That's I think the hardest thing at that point. It was, you know, we didn't know how to help, you know, as it is now, the supporters club with the appeal and everything. It started to, you know, harness a little bit of momentum in how we can help the club. But it was just heartache, really. Felt so sorry for the people at the club.
Jonathan, I mean, you see all these ex-players here, and I mean, every time I meet these guys, I mean, what awe of them. But why do you think it is that, you know, players, even the ones, well, especially the ones who aren't from Wigan, why do they have that pull towards Wigan? Why do they always love it? Why do they, when they leave, do they always think first about Wigan Athletic?
I don't know. First of all, this isn't a bad five-a-side team that's
You're not joking,
right now, is it? I'm not
I
getting myself
don't think
that,
I'd get in it.
But with Tommy and Emerson and Noel and Neil and Nathan, I mean, they're players that I watch from the terraces, and you know, my heroes when I was watching. And one of the privileges that have been in this position is that you get to meet these guys and you get to speak to them and work with them, and that's a real privilege. And I think Wigan Athletic, like every football club is special to the fans, and certain players build a real affinity to the football club. And I think our story from the Northern Premier League to the Premier League to the FA Cup and all the experiences that we've had since then, it's been a real roller coaster ride for the supporters. But I think it's look, we come from humble origins in the non-league, and as Noel says, you know, the first season in the league in 1978, we got off to a shaky start for the first 3 games, but after that we established ourselves right in the football world, and Wigan Athletic was here to stay. And I think the players do develop that relationship with the fans, and it's great to see. And you know, even now players from the Premier League days still come back to the stadium, and it's a pleasure to meet everyone, and it's great. Although I'd rather not be in circumstances like this, but it's great to be able to speak to these guys and share some memories as well. I think that's the first time I smiled this week.
I'm glad we could do that for you.
Yeah.
Let's throw it back to the players. Why do you have this entity with Wigan? Why do you know, Neil? Why does Wigan have that pull?
Well, everybody's story is very different, and mine is different than everyone else's, because Wigan were a very different club than they are now. Even, you know, it was a club that was struggling in different ways then. Not much money before Dave Wigan got involved, and it was again because of that. It brought everyone together. We didn't have a training ground. We played at Springfield Park, so it was they were tough times, but that again brought lads together. I was speaking to Gary Worthington last night, a lad who plays at Wigan, and it just builds. We're all the same. All the players the same. You've got friends that you make for life, and I'm not from Wigan originally, but moved here since, and yeah, it's my hometown now. And it's just been like that. Every day, bump into supporters, bump into people who are always interested in the club, always want to know what's going on. And you know, I've just had some fantastic times as a player, commentating, working there, and then now my stepson's working on the ground as well. So he's I wouldn't say he's following my tradition. He's probably doing a better job than I was, but he loves the club as well. It's just a fantastic place where you do meet people, and people do want to come back, and you can see that with what's happened now. It just has galvanised everyone.
Yeah, Noel, you played at Aberdeen, was it, before coming to Wigan?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was at Aberdeen for about 3-4 years. I was get released from there, and I had several offers to go several places. Back home, I had a couple offers back home. I had 2 from America and 1 from Wigan. But as I always say, I was always rubbish at geography. I'd heard Wigan had appeared, and I thought it was by the sea. But anyway, that's by the way. Anyway, I came to Wigan, and I spoke to Ian McNeil, and Ian basically he sold the club to me. I mean, at the time, it was non-league. I suppose it's fair to say they weren't getting the fan they were getting through weren't great. But I came with the first season that we was at Wigan was terrible. I think they finished 10th in the Northern Premier League, which was the first time they were in the top 3 since the league started. And then Ian got some, 2-3 players in, Morris Whittle and a few others. And the second season was phenomenal. League run, exactly. We finished second in the Northern Premier League, got to the third round of the FA Cup, and won a few other non-league trophies. And through all that time, we used to go and have a pint after the game with the fans, and that stayed with you because those fans, and I still speak to some of them now, and even Jonathan there, it was lovely to hear Jonathan, because he's just, as a fan, he's just encompassed the whole the scenario of Wigan Athletic, because he's saying he's got a photograph of Ben Watson scoring a goal in the FA Cup final, and beside it he's got a photograph of Jeff Wright, who played non-league and played the first league and whatever for Wigan Athletic. So it's people like that there. And I mean, I hear stories about guys. One guy, I was speaking to him, he lives in Belfast, and I said, how come you have no sport in Wigan Athletic? And he was in the Navy, and he was in Portsmouth, and a couple of friends of his said, our club, they were Wigan fans, we're playing Birmingham in the FA Cup. All right. So Clive decided, well, I'll go and watch them. And he's been watching them ever since. And like I said, I know lots, obviously I've lived in Wigan since 44 years. And the people I've met, and I've spoken to people, and, these people are devastated because they've grown up, their fathers, their grandfathers, they stood in the terraces watching Wigan, and they are all devastated. They're heartbroken, and they are desperate that someone somewhere will find a way out of this for the club that they love. It's part of, it's their life. Comes Friday or Saturday, they finish work Friday, and they're looking forward to going watching the game on a Saturday, whether it's home or away. It's their club, it's their life, and it's what they've been grown up with.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you're still a season ticket holder, aren't you?
Sorry?
You're a season ticket holder now as well, aren't you? At the club?
Yes, well, I've had a season ticket for quite a number of years, but a job I had a couple of years ago, I was working on Saturdays, and I sort of I missed about 5 or 6 of the first games of the season, so I've not had a season ticket for a couple of years, but I had a season ticket up till a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. My daughter was she was a season ticket holder. My son was a Latics fan. I just, unfortunately, my youngest son, he's a rugby fan, but I'll forgive him that.
Tommy, there's a question coming in here. If we actually find a buyer, do you think that would be enough to keep hold of most of the current squad?
Well, I don't think anybody knows that, what the situation is going to be going. I certainly hope so. I think Paul Cook and his staff have now sort of proved, the plan that they had in place going forward is all coming to fruition now with the way the team are playing, the way the players are coming through the academy, the younger players. So I certainly hope it isn't taken apart really, or put back to another 2 or 3 years, because these things always take time to come into place. And, to be fair, we aren't always a selling club. If you've got good players, some of the bigger clubs are always going to come in and try and buy them. But, the likes of Anthony Robertson, maybe we might have lost to AC Milan. We might have lost Kiefer Moore, was reportedly going to Cardiff. So if things had gone differently anyway, we possibly would have lost them 2 players before the end of, last season, as it was in March. Kiefer, I think, was going to Cardiff possibly in the March, and Anthony Robinson was obviously on his way to AC Milan, other than for the hiccup with his medical. So we're always got to be on, know that we're going to lose some of our better players. It's how long we can keep them and nurture them and get the benefits of their abilities before they actually leave us. It's I think that is a fact of life. I'm sure Jonathan will tell you that as the as the chief exec. You know, it's but just going back a little bit, if we can, you know, like Noel, you know, I was involved with when we were non-league, and we know the reason we have an affinity for clubs and for Wigan Athletic, us particularly, is we were in at the first steps into the Football League, and we know, I mean, I was with us when we were non-league for 4 years before we got in the league, so I know how hard and how much it meant to the supporters and to people like Jonathan's dad, who was, you know, a director and then became one of the presidents of the club, and the Arthur Horrockses of this world, and the players like Ian Gillibrand, how much it meant to them people, and me, and Noel, to get this football club, you know, that ambition to get into the Football League, and to see them hurting now is very painful for us all.
Yeah. Boyce, you're more recent from the club, but what's the pressure like with regards to agents and clubs touting and that side of things? I mean, take administration out of it. I mean, it's hard enough anyway, isn't it, with players having their eyes diverted other places? Yeah,
to an extent, but that's why I think it's been good for Wigan. I know Jonathan may not agree, but with the transfer window being closed, the players can only focus on getting results. You know, rather than thinking about my next move quickly, get me out of this situation, they can only focus on the next game, and which has helped, I think, team spirit as a whole. But going back to your previous question regarding for the club, for me, I have to thank, you know, Neil, Noel, Tommy, Nathan for the journey that started for me to reap the rewards at the end of it. You know, without their...
I wish I'd have been picking up.
Yeah, I wish I'd have got some of them.
But without these guys and many, many more that's gone through the squad of Wigan throughout the years, from non-league all the way through the leagues to the Premier League, you know, the dream would never have happened. So, you know, I've been lucky enough to get the most highlighted side of it with the FA Cup, the Wembley appearance, the Charity Shield, and Europe, so on and so on. But, you know, it all stems from the non-league days, the League Two, League One, and going into the Premiership.
I don't know, Boyce. I mean, I'm going to show you something now that I don't know whether it's too, you know, clever from the past. I mean,
oh,
this is how they start off, nice and young, nice neat haircuts, and then
oh dear.
Wow,
they were good days. Thanks for that, mate.
That's all right, pal.
I had a cup for today.
You know I couldn't resist.
I must say, sorry, I have to say, can I just say that I was at a do at the DW a few years back, and I had a photograph taken with Emerson. And just to reiterate what he said, I shook his hand and I said, "Thank you very much." And he said, "No, thank you." And respect.
Yeah, Emerson is one of the gentlemen of the game. I know he's really modest about it, but he really is.
Yeah.
As I said, it's you know, about the history of the club, you know, there will never be in the FA Cup and so on. And touch on the fans, the community. It's a family club that's running the right way. As I say, we've been lucky enough to have a great history, and may it continue.
Correct.
Nathan, what keeps you thinking of Wigan Athletics? I know your exit wasn't exactly fantastic, was it?
Oh my gosh. Oh, to be honest, you know, when you obviously go to, I've been at many clubs, and one thing that I can say is obviously number one is the winning aspect. It goes a long way, of course. When you're winning, you get more love and everything else. But one thing I noticed at Wigan more than anywhere is everyone associated with the club, you know, from the secretary, you've got obviously Jonathan, you've got everybody, you know, the supporters club after the game, they show you real love. It's like there's clubs you go down and you know that they like you just because of the football player, the Nathan Ellington, the football player. But at Wigan, you notice there was a love for the person as well as the football player. So when you chat with them on a daily basis, it was like a proper friendship for me, you know, like the physio, you chatting with them every day, but it's like a proper friendship. It's like, if you leave, you always want to just go back and say hi or meet them somewhere. You know, that's what it was like with everyone. Like the receptionist, I remember I've seen a receptionist, I can't remember how many times now after I've left the club, We chat on Facebook. We chat. We meet up at games. Like, this is what happens. It's because the love for the players are there. When we say a family club, that's the most family-like I've ever been at a club. And it's just testament to everybody involved with the club and why they've got so far. What they're doing everything the right way, and that's what I felt. And I believe you can feel it and you can see it in people's eyes. And I could see it in so many people's eyes at the club of Wigan. And that's why it has such I have such a strong love for the club. It's just because of that, mainly, to be honest. And even though I left on the terms, it seems like I left on the terms, which were not great. And I was seen as the Judas at the time. But, even after that, a whole load of the fans, they got over it and they still came back to, majority is love. It's still love there. Whereas if you was at another club and you go, it might still be hate, it still be hate all that time just because of the footballer. But again, like I said, they understand the human being in each person, and they still understand the memories that, we was able to share together playing for such a great club. So, yeah.
I can relate to, watching you and Jason Roberts banging all those goals in for 2 or 3 seasons. I could see that fight that team is putting in, which is a totally different scenario to what we are now. Is very similar to the fight that these guys are doing now. It's amazing. I mean, what are your thoughts about the performances on the pitch right now?
Well, to be honest, I looked at the highlights of the last game, and obviously I could see how amazing they played. Because the last game I watched Wigan play was away at Blackburn. I was actually at the game. I went to watch that game. And obviously a massive difference in the level of obviously game. You're going to see 8-0. You're going to see loads of goals. So it's obviously going to be a massive difference. But it just goes a long way to show that when everything's against you and you can still pull out a result like that, that's like the best result they've ever had in a long, I guess, probably ever. And to be able to pull it out at a time like this, it's just testament to all the boys to be able to just focus on what they really need to do and hopefully get one more win and hopefully, obviously, get the job done on the other end. Yeah. So really, really, really happy to see that that's happening and there's still a chance,
Yeah. Jonathan, I'm guessing there's no surprise to you that they're performing like this.
No, it's just such a shame that the supporters can't be there to witness it, because since we came back from the break, we've just picked up exactly where we were before, because since February we've been one of the best teams in the league. I think we're second in the form behind Brentford, and there was a concern that perhaps our momentum would have been disrupted by the break between March and June, but they absolutely, after two or 3 weeks training, and there were concerns, are we going to be fit enough? Are we going to pick up where we left off? Well, absolutely we did, and straight from beating Huddersfield away, and apart from Brentford away, who are probably the best team in the league, in my opinion, they've performed really well leading up to Tuesday night, which was just incredible. It was just outrageous to be 7-0 up at half time, and as much as I think I remember beating Scarborough 7-1 at Springfield Park, but I certainly don't remember 7-0 at half time ever before. It was great, but there's also part of me, sad because we were in administration for one, but also because the fans weren't there to see it. And it's a strange experience watching the game in the stadium with nobody around. You can hear the players shout, and it was just very odd, really. It feels like a friendly, it feels like a training match. But yeah, it was certainly incredible to watch. And it's going back to your question, it's no surprise that this group of players who are very, very strong-minded, there's a really strong relationship between all of them, and I think that's credit to Paul and his staff who've created that mentality. And although earlier in the season we didn't get the results that perhaps we deserved, we conceded a lot of late goals, and we spent a lot of time in the bottom three. I think ever since we won away at Birmingham, I think that was a real turning point. Before that, the West Brom game at home, which we should have won, where we had a number of injuries and Cal Naismith went into centre half and performed really well. I think there's been a number of turning points, but certainly Birmingham City away, when we won away for the first time in I think 2 years, or it certainly felt like it. Since then, the spirit and the performances have just been. I've been very proud to watch them actually, and let's hope that they can, as I said, they can finish it off tomorrow. I'm going to Charlton tomorrow, which is a huge game for both clubs, and then we finish off on Tuesday night against Fulham. It's all very odd, as I said, with no fans and playing football in July, and I think we'll look back on this as a very strange time, but hopefully one that we come through unscathed.
Neil, what's your view on the team and how they're performing? And again, I know you won't be surprised at the performances they're pulling out.
No, it's I'm not surprised really, because I think that as Jonathan said before the lockdown, they were pick things up and they were getting the results they deserved. But it was one of those situations. It could have gone either way, and you just don't know sometimes that they could fall away and feel sorry for themselves. But the response has been fantastic, and that's from the players, the manager. They've just come together. It's been I think it's incredible, really. I don't know if it's ever happened before when a club's been in this situation and the players have responded in such a way. It's amazing. And in front of, again, as Jonathan said, in front of no supporters, because there's always that thing that supporters could lift them, but they've not even needed that. I spent a lot of games in front of no supporters, and it can be tough. We didn't get the results that they're getting at the moment. So it's amazing, and they should be very proud of themselves. And as I say, the manager's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, there's been a message here saying that John Harrison and Mike Downey are still looking forward to seeing you.
Okay.
Don't know what that means, but apparently you arranged to meet them before COVID kicked in.
Okay.
Tommy, you commentate on them. You watch them probably nearly as much as I do. So what's your view on the way they're playing right now?
I think they've been fantastic. Like Jonathan says, even before the turn of the year, when there's games we should have won, that Notts Forest away comes to mind for me. We absolutely battered Notts Forest, and how we didn't come away with 3 points from that game. I still don't know how that happened up to today. But then when the results started going our way from the turn of the year, you could see the confidence levels building. And then obviously the big worry was when we came back after the lockdown, be able to keep that momentum going. But they certainly started. Great credit's got to go to the backroom staff, the conditioning guys they have, and Anthony Barry and Liam and Paul himself for keeping the boys and getting them focused, because they came out of Huddersfield and they came out as if there'd been no break at all, really. They were absolutely fantastic and carried it on right through, Another game that comes to mind, which is one we won, was the West Brom away. We were brilliant at West Brom, and it's not just winning the games. It was the football they were playing. It was a joy to watch. The movements off the ball and the passing, nice crisp 1-2s, and it was really a joy to watch. And they've picked up where they left off. As far as I'm concerned, and as you say, the 8-0 the other night was just the icing on the cake. It was like, I don't know about a training game. It was like attack against defence, that one. Every time we went forward, I was convinced we were going to get to double figures. I was convinced of it. We hit the bar, we hit the post, we had numerous other chances, and I was dying for it to get to double figures. But I suppose we'll have to be settled for 8 and just not be greedy.
Yeah. I must admit, we're going to be wrapping up this soon. What the heck? Yeah, always one. I've got a crib sheet here that I've actually not actually asked one question off, because we basically just talked about stuff ad hoc, which has been absolutely brilliant. To round off though, can I go through every single one of you? I'll start off with Jonathan. No, I'll finish with Jonathan actually. We'll start off with Noel. What is your gut feeling about where we're going to finish at the end of the season?
I think we'll finish safe. We'll get the number of points required. We can take the 12 points off us. and we'll still be there.
Good man, that is exactly the right comment. Nathan?
I'm obviously going to say we're going to make it out of there.
Yeah.
Considering the game that we just played, if we can take confidence from that, build on it, that kind of confidence there should take you on to winning, more the rest of the game. So I definitely think that they've got it in them for sure, and just keep these performances up. Obviously, you're not going to get 8-0 each game, but if we can get even 1-0 each game, we'll be happy.
That's all we need, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's get the wins there.
Boise?
Yeah, I think if they go into the game with the same attitude as the whole game, I don't see there's no problem about getting out of it. For me, I've got to look at both sides. I think in terms of Charlton, hopefully they'll beat Charlton. Charlton go into the bottom 3 and Luton get out as well. So that'll be doubly for me. But yeah, for me, it's same attitude as always. Play the free-flowing football, score the goals. And at this minute in time, I don't think no one really wants to play Wigan. They're in such great form. I think everybody's looking over their shoulders thinking what performance they're going to have. So for me, Wigan's going to get out of it.
Brilliant. Neil?
Yeah, totally agree. I think we will get out of it. And I agree with Emerson there that teams don't want to play Wigan at the moment. I think the Charlton manager said we've got a really tough game coming up with Wigan, and I think that's true. I don't think anybody wants to play them. So if they continue this way they are, they will get out of it. I just want the club to survive ultimately. However, I just want us to keep going, and whatever shape that takes, let's move forward, stay in the championship, and start again whenever next season starts. But I think we'll be safe this year.
Brilliant. Tommy?
Yeah, without doubt. I think the form book says that, we're quite capable of winning the 2 games. Forget the goals that we've been scoring and the chances we've been creating. At the other end, we've had 9-10 clean sheets out the last 10 or 11 games, so we're absolutely giving them nothing away at the back. We've got a real tight unit there defensively, and not giving teams a chance, which is why, as the boys have said, nobody's keen on playing us, because basically, it's going to be, very few chances given away, and they've got so many attacking options, Wigan, now, by proof of the goals and the results we're getting. So I'm very confident that we can get something out of these last 2 games and stay up on our own merits, which is obviously what we all want, really.
And Jonathan will give you the final word.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with everyone. Am
You're allowed to have your fans' head on it.
I think tomorrow will be a tough game. I think they're really 2 tough games. Obviously, it depends what we do tomorrow and how it pans out on Tuesday night against Fulham, with who are guaranteed to be in the playoffs. I think the players can see the finishing line now, and it's 2 big efforts from them. But I think I'll reiterate what Neil said, and ultimately my focus is on ensuring that this football club survives, and that we've got a football club next season, and that has to be my goal and my objective, and I think as long as that happens, and I'm very confident that will, then whether we're in League One or the Championship, I'll be happy. And but ultimately, I believe. And absolutely, I'm 100% confident that we'll stay up as well.
Brilliant. Listen, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks to everybody who's been listening and watching us on YouTube. We'll hopefully over the next couple of weeks have a couple more of these. But for now, thanks very much, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you a lot very soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, mate. It's great.
Guys.
Take care, fellas.
Bye, everyone.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.